Bum 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 bam. Back, welcome back to the Fantasy Football Card Quest. I am live right now with Steve the Hitman Scaladesi. Guys, we know every year historically, since I've got back in the hobby, since Steve's got back in the hobby, the thousands of auctions we watch. January is an epic sales month. That's because demand spikes for football cards for a couple different reasons. We're going to talk about those reasons. We're also going to talk about the stat leaders from 2021 because one of those reasons, Steve, is people, their teams out of the playoffs, their fantasy seasons are done. They're now reflecting on 2021 season, looking at who was good and starting to make investments for the upcoming draft for 2022. Wouldn't you agree with that, Steve? Or what's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think that's a really good point. And, for the teams that maybe they have a player, their team's out of it, but they might be leading in stats. And you have some people that really only care about stats. It might not necessarily make it the best guy on the field, but if he puts up numbers, for some people, that's really all they care about.
I will tell you,
it is performance-driven market as well. So, I mean,
yeah.
in some cases, stats are a performance marker,
Yeah, I would tell you that there are some players that would fall off of my radar if it wasn't for looking at stats, if it wasn't looking at advanced fantasy metrics, or just regular NFL stats, the general performance stats that we talk about, receiving yards, touchdowns, rushing yards, touchdowns, passing completion, that kind of stuff. There's guys that would fall off my radar because maybe they're not in the division that I pay attention to a lot, but there's guys in those markets that are really good.
There was one key I wanted to point out with stats, and that's actually what kind of made me want to talk about the topic, because there's guys that I think when you actually go category by category, there's going to be a couple guys that'll surprise you that they're on the top 5 even, or the top 10. And I'll cite one example, being a Bears fan. How many guys know the name Robert Quinn? I don't know if I asked you off the top of your head, how many sacks do you think he has? And what position do you think he is on the leaderboard?
Yeah, Robert Quinn. He's on the defensive line, right, for the Bears.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know how many sacks he's got, to be honest with you. I know, like, I've heard the name before in commentation, watching games. So I know he's getting sacks, but I have no clue like where he's at on the leaderboard.
Sure. Well, I have it up right here. I'll give you this. TJ Watt is number 1. TJ Watt is number 1 at 17.5. All right. Now I'll give you the next several numbers: 16, 15, 15, 13. Some of these names might surprise you. And I won't tell you the order just yet. Nick Bosa.
Okay.
Myles Garrett.
Oh.
Trey Hendrickson, which is a major sleeper, major sleeper, and Robert Quinn. Now, would you know that Robert Quinn is actually number 2 at 16 sacks?
Really? Number 2? 16 sacks?
And you have Micah Parsons at 12. But everyone knows Micah Parsons.
Yeah.
And you have Aaron Donald at 11. So that's a pretty significant number. Now, Robert Quinn's actually only 4 sacks off from the Bears franchise record.
4 sacks off Bears franchise record. That's a pretty big market. Now, let me ask you, how old is Robert Quinn? What type of available rookie cards does he have?
He's a 2011 rookie, so there's actually not as many cards available for him as there would be for like a 2020 or a 2018 rookie. But his market hasn't taken off yet. I mean, I've gotten in on some, so I'm not like, I'm not affecting my margin by dumping this information out, but it could be a great pickup. Yeah, you're right. Hendrickson is a huge sleeper. And with Hendrickson, there's actually only 2 rookies, which makes him an interesting pickup too. But yeah, with the Quinn short print cards, and there's actually some short, rookie ticket autos for Quinn that you can get for like $20-$30.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
All right, I gotta check this out, man. 'Cause you definitely perking my interest there. I want to shout out to Nick, longtime viewer and follower on the quest, man. What's good? A shout out to Jason Van Castle there up there at Bill's Mafia. Big week. That's right, man. You guys got a big week. You're going back to New England. Is this the revenge week for Buffalo?
This could be the reality check for the Patriots, in my opinion.
They're coming off their first loss in a while to the Indianapolis Colts. Mac Jones had 2 interceptions in that game. He was forced to throw the ball, and he made some mistakes. I think we saw some panic selling on some Mac Jones.
Absolutely. Yeah, I've seen them going for more realistic numbers finally.
Shout out to Raven Invest. Raven and I just did a fresh new episode of Comp Kings yesterday. We had a lot of fun of that, and I love talking and comparing stats of these guys, Steve, and looking and digging for some gems like this, like Robert Quinn, like Hendrickson. We're also going to be looking at some live betting that we're going to be doing here in a few minutes. We got to get our pick'ems in on Underdog, of course, because Underdog Fantasy is affiliated with the Quest, guys. All new signups that use promo code Quest does 2 things, right? It helps out this channel. You get a 100% deposit bonus instantly into your account when you're a new signup using promo code Quest. And then you can make the same bets as us. You can also do playoff best ball. We're talking about that. We've been talking about that a little bit every show because that's where we're trying to predict the guys that are going to perform the best out throughout the duration of the playoffs. And what better flip opportunities are there than that in January, Steve?
Yeah, and with me just getting back into the card business, if you will, I'm excited for the playoffs, and I see a lot of other channels talking about the card market's down and this and all this other stuff. I don't have the big picture, and maybe as a whole the card market's down. Personally, I've sold more cards in the last 2 weeks on a week-to-week basis than I have the entire rest of the football season. So I'm going to have to disagree from my perspective, and I don't know where you guys stand on that, but hey, it's a good time in my opinion.
Yeah, like I've been busy all year long, right? All season long.
Oh, I set a new personal record, not for dollar amount, but for how quick I made a sale.
Okay.
I put up a college uniform Micah Parsons gold prism, and in less than 2 hours, buy it now, sold. So I was pretty happy about that.
Wow, man. That's insane. I mean, he's super hot right now. It's kind of this is a time to liquidate those college cards. I've been actually targeting just market inefficiencies ever since I saw Raven flip the rated rookie press proof blue of Micah Parsons. I've been targeting those in auctions and watching them because I know, like, all right, I saw Raven flip one for about $30. If I can grab them now, I can do, like you're saying, quick, immediate, boom, boom, like that.
Yeah, I think that maybe this is a rare exception to the rule about selling all your college uniform cards before the season. How much do you think I would have sold the Micah Parsons for, before the season started? A couple dollars, maybe,
Maybe. Yeah, a couple dollars, maybe. You're right. In that
so I
sense,
ended
you're
up
right.
getting about $18 for it. No haggle. Yeah.
So we have to refine the college jersey selling strategy to be like, all right, these guys like Trevor Lawrence, right? Like his values have gone down on everything since the beginning of the season. And shout out to the card folio, man. That's Malone money mindset, man. Change the name, the card folio. I like it. I do view my my cards as an investment portfolio or collection portfolio. So I kind of like that name, card folio. He says, could Lawrence, I'm guessing he means Trevor Lawrence, be a move in the offseason? I'm guessing he means like a buy low. He's definitely a buy low right now. Do you think, Steve, that based on what you saw from Trevor Lawrence in 2021, that he's going to bust, or do you think that there's a future for him?
Ah, man, I never like to write anyone off too soon. He hasn't looked good, but there's definitely guys I've seen that have started worse. Let's not forget that they probably have the first pick in the draft locked up. So they'll have ETN back and maybe a number one wideout. Those things go a long way with the quarterback stock. So he could be a buy. He could be a buy. I would still hold off for a bit, and his prices, I think, will still go down, especially when you have the draft and you have new quarterbacks people are going to be going after. That actually brings me up to another topic. Maybe we can talk about it today or in a different episode. But the premise of buying second-year quarterback cards.
Ooh. Interesting. Do elaborate on it. I mean, is it based on first year stats? What are you basing your second year? So you're not talking second year cards. You're talking about quarterbacks going into their sophomore season.
A bit of both. I'm talking about, for example, like a 2006 Aaron Rodgers or a 2021 Joe Burrow. Okay. People are still buying Burrow rookies at a premium, which is expected, but there's a lot of value in second year cards, especially short print ones. If you go look at, what a second year Brady or a second year Rodgers sells for compared to a third, fourth, fifth, sixth year, there's obviously a steep fall off from the rookie card prices, but there's a huge cliff from the other non-rookie card years.
A huge cliff. I almost I think that's a good move when it comes to really elite players on the top of their game, especially quarterbacks. Is I like, they have a higher demand, right? And there's a bigger market of people that want to collect and invest in them. And I feel like when even their base cards become so expensive that a lot of people can't get in on that player. However, that player is going for the Hall of Fame. It's a future Hall of Famer, and you want to get in on it. I think it's a great strategy to then move to their second year, their third year, and maybe start targeting some of those market inefficiencies that we talk about, like the color match parallels, the serial numbered cards that are just ending in auctions during the week too low. And it's next to impossible to get in on the rookie year. But now you're moving to the second, third year. You open up a lot more options. I kind of like that idea, Steve.
Yeah, I'll give you an example. I was looking for some this morning, and let's not forget. Let's use just Aaron Rodgers as an example. Aaron Rodgers was holding a clipboard. Okay, so people weren't buying Aaron Rodgers, right? And if people weren't buying Aaron Rodgers, they may have been trading away Aaron Rodgers or discarding Aaron Rodgers or sending him as filler in a eBay envelope or who knows, right? In regards to Jason's question, what sets, in regards to Rodgers, I think that, you didn't have a lot of the newer Panini sets. So like Topps Chrome is going to be the way to go with maybe Bowman Chrome even. If you look at what even the base cards go for, it's pretty substantial. The thing is that, when you're talking about a 2006 card, it's got years of being potentially handled or traded from person to person or sold from person to person. The amount of those that are in good condition still are very low.
Yeah. Still very low and still very much relevant, right? And I think it's important if we I don't know if you do this, Steve, but if you actually think of the cards as artwork, and when you view a specific card, are you grading it like what type of criteria do you have in your head when you're judging whether or not to buy a card, um, a second or third year card?
Yeah, I mean, I use a lot of the same criteria that we usually, spout off about, like the scarcity and the demand. But eye appeal is a really big one. Eye appeal. I mean, I think eye appeal plays a major factor in anything else, even outside of the trading card business. So, the reason you buy a certain car or the reason you buy a certain outfit, you like how it looks. And the visual appeal is one of our most primal senses, and that's going to be, I think, the biggest one. That and the scarcity, and if you look at what people pay the top dollar for in the card business is one of ones or population twos or stuff like that. And we're getting to like the end game of cards, but if you're just talking about like buying, selling, flipping as a just general term, you can get scarce cards that aren't numbered, and you can get scarce cards that aren't low pop, right? Short print. But when you're going back into the early 2000s, late 90s, be very selective about what sets you're buying, because especially late 90s, you're still talking about borderline junk wax era, and you're going to have a lot of mass printed sets. So there are cards that have serial numbers. There are shorter print sets. The first year Prism sets are a big one.
Yeah, they add that collection value anytime you have a first year of something, right? I mean, it's the inaugural year.
And I actually, if you look at even other sports card markets like basketball, let's say Michael Jordan of the first year Prism, is a substantially expensive card, just for the sheer fact that it is a first year Prism, and just for the sheer fact that first year of any set, typically they don't make a lot out of. They don't make a lot of them because it is kind of like a test run.
Did you know? Oh, I'm sure you probably do, but a leader in passing attempts this year, who also happens to be the leader in passing yards, is
I would say Tom Brady.
Thomas Frederick Brady the third. Got that one from
And I would say
Carter.
number 2 is probably David Carr without looking. Would I be right?
Yes, yeah, actually, it is David Carr, but right on his heels is Matt Stafford. Now, one of those three guys, I'm not sure that the Vegas Raiders are going to make the playoffs anymore, man.
I don't. That team is a mystery to me because 1 week they'll have a really good showing, and the next not. So I don't know if it's a coaching issue or what it is, but they have talent. There's no doubt about it that they have talent. I'm sure getting a healthy Darren Waller back would be a big boost.
It would be a big boost. They're slowly trending up. I mean, 16-14. They beat the Browns last week. So I mean, they're on the bubble, but it's not like how David Carr was playing at the beginning of the season. That was the time to sell his rookie card. I mean, since then he's another one of those guys like Trevor Lawrence has kind of declined in value over the course of the season. Sam Darnold's another guy who fell off a cliff big time after week 5,
I think that there could be maybe not a full redemption, but we talked about this the other day briefly. It looks like Sam Darnold's going to be back this year. And let's be honest, the QB play in Carolina has been really bad. So I think maybe a couple of late wins to end the season could salvage, some of the losses for anybody that bought into the Darnold cards. I don't necessarily think he's not going to be there next year, personally.
Yeah, I think you could be right. I think that they get rid of Matt Rule, get a new coach in there. I mean, the offensive line is terrible. I think he handpicked that. Man, I like that shirt, Steve. I saw a little Quest logo. Look at this man repping the merch. I love it.
That's right.
That's nice, bro.
Darnold. On a personal note, I picked up a Obsidian Darnold rookie, serial numbered out of 50 for $4 yesterday.
Wow.
I mean, to me, that's a no-brainer. That card probably would have been selling for, I don't know, if I had to guess, at least $40-$50 earlier in the year.
So you don't think that he completely blew his chance with every collector and investor out there? You think that the hype will come back for him if they get improve the offensive line, new coaching, he's the starter again? I think he would. I think though he would be in that category of having to string together another 4 or 5 weeks of really impressive performances before it's like, all right, it drives a bunch of people to want to go buy Sam Darnold rookie cards. Unlike what we saw happen this year with Mike White, Jake Fromm this past week, those kind of guys.
Is Carolina confirmed eliminated at this point?
Confirmed eliminated or pretty dang close. Let's put it this way. They play my Tampa Bay Buccaneers. You're a Tampa Bay fan too. They play the Tampa Bay Buccaneers here twice in the next 3 weeks, last 3 weeks of the season here. And they are on the bubble. So they're not technically been eliminated yet, but they are on the bubble.
Yeah, that's not the team you'd want to play if you were trying to make it in. But as far as Sam Darnold goes, Tampa D has given up some big yardage games. He could, per se, have a good game and still lose, so who knows? But I do think that there's at least a good chance that he gets another chance, maybe even to start next year, and you could see some resurgence in his card value.
I got you. Let's take a look at some of these pick'ems. So we've got San Francisco at Tennessee tonight, and this is a pretty big game, man. This is a 44.5 over under. San Francisco's been playing really well, right? I mean, they're now 8-6. The Titans are 9-5. The Titans have slid back as they've been decimated with injuries. I mean, it's the injury apocalypse for them. They've got lucky to dodge some COVID designations. Some teams have been absolutely decimated by COVID. Well, the Titans were already decimated by injuries, right?
Yeah, I don't know. You know what? I think the biggest issue is obviously Derrick Henry being out is a big issue. But let's talk about their wide receiver play or the lack of wide receiver play. Outside, if they didn't have a pretty decent offensive line and a running game, they would probably be quickly making their way out of the playoffs. But if you were starting a franchise, who would you take from that team that's healthy? I'm saying that's healthy. And even AJ Brown, what has he really done anything this year, outside of maybe 1 or 2 games?
That's the thing. He had, if you look at AJ Brown, he had 1 week as a number 1 fantasy wide receiver. And that was it. That was absolutely it. Let me filter. I mean, I think there was maybe 1 other week where Marquise Brown's had a better season than AJ Brown. AJ Brown. So he had 1 number 4 week, and one number one week.
There's
Other
the
than
2
that,
weeks.
yeah, 2 weeks, two good weeks there in the middle of the season, weeks 7 and 8. Other than that, it's been sub 20, under 20, under 30. The last 4 weeks, he's been injured, and I think he's still week to week right now with the injuries. So this has been an extremely disappointing year, especially when most people drafted him in the 3rd round, the 4th round, the 5th round of their fantasy drafts. And not to mention, people were spending, $50, $60, $100 on certain rookie cards of him before the season, are now able to get those for way cheaper.
Yeah, it's not good for the for him or any of the Tennessee wideouts right now. It's almost like they're just challenging Tannehill to just pass, and that's how they're playing them. Because I'm not saying Deonta Foreman's not an okay running back, but he's not Henry, and he's obviously not going to carry the whole game on his back. So yeah, it's just bad. And I do like them as a franchise. I hope that they pull it out and Henry shows up in the playoffs to save the day. That'd just be like a cool story. But as you can see by the number of prop bets for Tennessee, the sports book doesn't have a lot of faith in any of the receivers either, because there's none listed.
I'm not feeling too good about the Tennessee running backs tonight against San Francisco. I know San Francisco is adamant about establishing the run. That's a Kyle Shanahan system. Jeff Wilson's looked really good, but I'm just kind of looking at the game log and thinking back. Like, Cordell Patterson did not have a great week against San Francisco this past week. Joe Mixon did not have a good week in week 14 against San Francisco. I can't remember if that was the week 13 was the week Rashad Penny came back, or Alex Collins or anybody there in Seattle had a good week. I feel like San Francisco's rushing defense has been a lot better lately, and I'm not sure I would feel confident at all about this Deonta Foreman, just because San Fran is going to put up points between Kittle, Ayuk, Deebo Samuel. They've got a pretty healthy offensive roster right now, Steve, and Jimmy G has actually played pretty doggone good in managing the game. They're establishing that run, that stretch gap run play that Shanahan loves to run. Jeff Wilson's been hitting that hard. So I feel like, are there any of these prop bets that really stick out to you on the San Francisco side at Tennessee? Because I feel like Tennessee's defense, on the other hand, besides maybe I've seen maybe an above average amount of interceptions from them, I haven't seen them really stop anybody particularly well on the ground, or like the tight end. I feel like this George Kittle prop bet, we should probably smash the over. What do you think?
Yeah, that seems like a pretty good one in my opinion. It's let's see what he's done over the last couple of games. I'm pretty sure he's at least 2 or 3 games in a row where he's gotten over that.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah,
as well.
He's got three consecutive games of 9, 13, and 6. So that seems like a pretty good one.
Are you talking about the receptions?
Yes.
Yeah, man. 9, 13, and 6. Our prop bet tonight is 6. Now, do you feel better about the yardage or the prop bet? So his yardage on underdog tonight is 71.5, or 6 receptions. I can't take both. I can only take one or the other. And when you look at his yardage, man, he's the last 3 weeks, 181, 151, and 93.
I would say almost the receptions.
You would say the receptions?
Yeah, I would say the receptions.
It's almost looking to me, when he does hit that reception mark of 6, he's probably going to go over 70 yards to begin with, just because he's such a yak monster. And they typically will target him on a play action play that's at least going, 15, 20 yards, something like that. It's probably the average. I think that these are going to go hand in hand, to be honest with you. But I think that the volume is probably a safer bet on the receptions. I mean, the question is Tennessee going to be able to score points and keep up with San Francisco? And are we going to have this turn into a shootout? Like, I like to think of these as a game script as a whole. Like, is this going to be, I guess I haven't even looked at the weather in Tennessee. This is an outdoor stadium. We do have some weather in this game tonight, and it's not showing weather on this game right here. It's just got the little, a little cloudy. That's nothing. I mean, Tennessee's should be pretty decent. It should be kind of cold, but I mean, other than that, it shouldn't be too bad. It's not going to be cold like Green Bay cold or Chicago cold.
What do you think about this? It says that Titans defense has given up 43 receiving yards per game to opposing tight ends over the last 5 weeks.
Interesting. So linebacking play, tight end coverage has been pretty good for Tennessee.
And that, only makes me want to lean towards the receptions pick even more because, I mean, he only needs 6 receptions. They don't necessarily even have to net positive yards, right? For the bet to go off, it just has to be a 6 reception game.
Boom, I'm smashing it. I'm smashing the 6 receptions. Jimmy G, are you liking any of these Jimmy G props? 1.5 passing touchdown, 3.5 rushing yards, or 240 passing yards?
Quick look at his. I actually like the over on the passing, but I want to take a quick look at what his game log is real fast.
Yeah, for sure. You do that. And let me just remind people while you're doing that we are making these live over-under bets on underdogfantasy.com. And if you use promo code QUEST as a new signup, you get an instant 100% deposit bonus up to $100. You could put in as little as $10, get a $10 bonus instantly. You don't have to play a certain amount of contests or a certain amount of live bets. You get that bonus instant as free money. You can make the same bets we're making. We're going to parlay bets together to where we can 20x our money. If we put 5 of these picks together and we hit on that, now we're talking a sweet little Christmas time payout bonus. You know what I'm saying, Steve? So
absolutely. Yeah, I think I like the over on that. And, since he's kind of picked it up his last several games, we can even just use the last 3 games as an example. 299, 296, 235. And, with the Atlanta game where he was at 235, it's probably just because that they didn't need to chuck it anymore, So, if Atlanta was able to stay in the game, I think that, he'd be closer to the 300 mark again.
I think I'm with you.
And I was looking at the Jeff Wilson one, and that's a risky one. Specifically the 7.5 receiving yards one. They don't really use him in the receiving game, but if you look at it, I mean, you're talking about 7.5 yards. He has a couple of games where he's been around that number, like 9 yards or whatever, I think it was.
9 yards, 8 yards. So I'm seeing that he's turned 2 receptions last week into 9 yards, 1 reception at Jacksonville for 8 yards. But these other weeks where he's either been injured or only had a 14% snap share. But look at the games where he had at least a 50% snap share. Well, at Cincinnati, he had 13 carries, no receptions. But okay, this is what's interesting, Steve, is that I'm reading here that Elijah Mitchell cleared the concussion protocol earlier this week, but his knee issue was bothersome enough to keep him off the practice field Tuesday and Wednesday and on the sideline for a 3rd straight game. So Elijah Mitchell is out tonight. It says the only other running back on the active roster is Jermichael Hasty. Now, they have used Deebo Samuel in the running game. They've even used fullback Kyle Juszczyk. They're likelier options to earn touches out of the backfield behind Wilson, but we're really kind of thinking about the receiving yards because it's such a low prop. Jermichael Hasty, is he like a receiving option for them? Let's see.
I don't know. Let's take a quick look here because I'm not familiar with. I'm pretty sure he's a rookie this year. I'm not too familiar with him. Let's see.
Yeah, he kind of is. Yeah, I mean,
yeah, he's definitely got a lot more receptions than. But also not many. So against Atlanta, he logged 1 target, 1 reception. Against Cincy, 3 targets and 3 receptions. And believe it or not, earlier in the year, he had quite a few more targets and receptions, and that's when Elijah Mitchell would have been healthy. So I don't know, man.
I'm going to go over on the Jeff Wilson receiving yards. I think he gets there.
Yeah. I mean, it's one of those where, I mean, technically any bet can go either direction, but I think he's playing enough. And you know what? We talked about the Kittle metric and that they're shutting the tight end down. That could only leave more passing targets, right?
Yeah, that could only lead to more passing targets.
All right, what other guys do we like or dislike here? Kyle Juszczyk, that's a dangerous one. I actually wish they had like a rushing play up for him.
Kyle Juszczyk, they've got him on the receiving yards as well. I'm not sold on that either.
What about Ayuk on the under?
Ayuk on the under. Now that's interesting. Let's see. And Juszczyk has actually consistently got receptions in almost every single game, Steve, as a fullback. But it's typically like 1.
Yeah, they did use him a good amount last week.
I mean, it's not very many. I mean, it's like we could. Brandon Ayuk, 49.5 receiving yards.
Let's see how Tennessee ranks against the pass. Let's see what they're saying here. Middle of the pack.
36. Yeah.
You know what though? But he's so volatile. He's just
only
so
had 2 targets. But I think that whole receiving passing game of San Francisco was low last week because they were just dominating Atlanta. And we expect Tennessee to keep up a little bit better tonight. I mean, I expect Tennessee to put up points even though they're without a lot of their key players.
I just don't like to smash all overs. I don't know. It usually doesn't work out.
It feels wrong, right?
Yeah, it doesn't usually pan out. But
I mean, it's 49.5 receiving yards. I mean, as of right now, we put 4 picks together, 3 overs, 1 under. Now, if we think that Jimmy G is going over on 240 passing yards, wouldn't you think, does it make sense to go ahead and smash over on Ryan Tannehill at 217?
Yeah, I mean, that's a pretty low number, but I think he had a sub 100-yard game last week.
Yeah, he's actually had a sub 200. He's actually hit the under on this the past 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 out of the last 6 weeks. He would have hit the under on this prop.
Yeah.
Ugh, dude, that's ugly.
Yeah. 3 weeks ago, 93 total passing yards against New England. And he hasn't
That's
thrown a touchdown in 2 games, which is pretty bad.
yeah. Well, he's been rushing the ball more. You can see that the last 3 weeks, 24 rushing yards at New England, Jacks at Pittsburgh. We know San Fran's defense has been playing better, but it's more their defensive line putting pressure on the quarterback, the run game, stopping the run, and stopping tight end yardage. So
I think I don't know. How do you feel about the under? I think the under is okay, honestly.
I think the under on passing yards or the over on his rushing yards.
Let's see.
Because
I
you're
didn't see
right.
what
Who's he gonna really throw it to? I mean,
exactly.
they've been
Exactly.
decimated.
Yeah, let's
Nick
see. Rushing
Westbrook,
yards
Ikeen.
24, 29, 18. Yeah, that's not the over's not terrible, but I mean, like we were just talking about the receivers. I mean, for them to win this game, in my opinion, they need either someone to emerge out of the woodwork at receiver, or they need to win it through running and defense. I just don't see him carrying them to victory just through the air.
Yeah, I wish they had a prop bet on Dontrell Hilliard receiving yards. I would take that.
Now they did get Nichols back last week.
Oh, they got Jeremy McNichols. Okay, so that's their receiving back right there.
Yeah, that's probably why they didn't.
Honestly, this Dontrell Hilliard, if they've got McNichols back, Foreman is still the lead dog in terms of carries and rushing. I kind of like the under on Dontrell Hilliard's 22.5. But I mean, we've got 5 really good picks already strung together right here. I think we should go ahead and I think we should call it here. I mean, we got 5. I don't like to double take our picks because then what if the opposite happened and you're like, oh, but I had that selected in the
right.
first place, you know?
Yeah, no, I mean, you could always, if you're feeling a certain way about the other bet, the Hilliard bet, you could always pair it with like one of the Saturday games or something like that.
Boom. I like that. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and put in. I'm doing $10. We're going over George Kittle 6 receptions. We're going over Jimmy G 240 passing yards. Over Jeff Wilson 7.5 receiving yards. Under Brandon Ayuk on 49.5 receiving yards, and under on Ryan Tannehill 217.5 passing yards. Put it
Boom.
on Underdog Fantasy. There we go.
I think it's important to note for people that are hesitant to make like a big multiplier parlay bet. Obviously, the reason they pay so high is they're not expected to all hit all the time, right? But it's important to note that when you're getting a 20-1 payout, you only have to be right 1 out of 20 times to break even, right? So if you're right 2 out of 20 times, you're ahead. Okay. So, we've hit one good parlay in the past couple of weeks, so we're ahead. And we just got to be consistent with, with hitting them every couple of weeks. And, that's all it takes.
Yeah, let's spin up one of these little 3-person. It's 3 persons, so we got you and I, and then I'll post a link in the chat for one other person, and let's spin up one of these 3 little person because these are fun. It's a 3-person draft. It's all flex position, so the quarterbacks are out of the question, and it's a half-point PPR, and they go super quick because it's only 4 rounds. It's 4 rounds. 3-person league that is all flex. I like these. They're a lot of fun, man. I'm curious to see where players are taken first. Like AJ Brown is out, on track to play Thursday. That's an hour ago. The Titans plan to activate AJ Brown from IR in advance of Thursday night's game against the 49ers. Didn't experience any setbacks at practice this week and is thus in line to be officially activated later Thursday, setting the stage for him to play versus San Francisco. Oh, Steve.
Interesting. But
what
hey,
do we
you know
do
what?
with this information right here? What's the CB matchup like? Wide receiver CB matchup. I go look at the wide receiver CB matchup for AJ Brown. Got to check this out. Find a player.
I don't think it changes anything that drastically because we did go over his current season.
Yeah, but
if you will.
I get that, and we also went over the fact that he had a number 1 finish one week and a number 5 finish another week. I would say if you're in the fantasy playoffs right now, you need to check your roster. If AJ Brown is sitting on your bench, I would start him because there's no Julio Jones. There's no other really good options for Ryan Tannehill to target. We know the 49ers are going to put up points. We also know the Titans need to win because the Colts are now catching up to them very right on their heels for the division and the playoff seeding is big implications in this game. I think and they're playing at home in Tennessee. I'm looking at the matchup advantage. This is an excellent rating from PFF, meaning that AJ Brown should have an excellent advantage over all San Francisco corners. They have a weaker than average secondary.
I still think we did the right thing.
I think we did the right thing. Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to change my bet, but I think that you could definitely see AJ Brown have a 150-yard game. I mean, it's Maybe. AJ Brown. I'm not going to.
Yeah, it could happen. I mean, he did it 2 out of the 15 games, let's say. So the math still is in our favor there.
Whoops. I accidentally posted a YouTube link to our own stream in the chat. I meant to post the Underdog League. I don't know why I didn't copy. So, guys, I just posted it's a 3-person private league. Come try and take Steve and I's money. I'm gonna post it over in the Discord for you as well, Steve. Come try and take Steve and I's money as we draft between 4 flex positions. That's it. It's a 3-person private league. It's a $3 entry fee. You should have plenty of free money to play with, especially if you're a new user on Underdog Fantasy, because you use that promo code Quest, you get 100% instant deposit bonus. If you're just hopping in this live stream, guys, go ahead and smash that like button and let people know that we're in here and we're doing some live betting, some live drafting. And then right after this, we're going to parlay this knowledge with talking about some plays we're making in the card market. We're going to talk about some rookie card investing. So we got one more spot open in this draft. It's going to go super quick. I just think these are a really fun format. We also just found out AJ Brown is playing tonight. I don't know why I missed that tweet earlier or something. It's probably because he hasn't played in like 2 months.
Yeah, it has been a while. Oh, this just popped up. Dalvin Cook placed on COVID list.
Dalvin Cook on COVID list. What?
So if you're in the fantasy playoffs, I hope you have Madison. You should have, if you listened to us last week, you should have had him anyway. But if he's available, you may want to go get him.
Definitely a good point there. I think it's smart. If you've made it this far to the fantasy football playoffs, hopefully you have handcuffed yourself, you know, not just for injuries, but for COVID. I mean, COVID has been a killer. This like No pun intended, man. It's been killing people off your starting roster.
Yeah. Yeah, it's definitely created a lot of problems around the league. But I think in a positive note, they did change the league protocols as far as vaccinated players that exhibit no symptoms. They can come back sooner now. So it does implicate less people being out and less games being missed.
That's a good thing. I mean, that's a good thing because we know the symptoms are a lot less with this strain that's going around now that's so viral or whatever. Um, strain is a lot less. I want to talk about some more stats while we're waiting. One person, I just posted a link up in the Discord. If you're just hopping in, we are one person left in a private draft, but I want to look at.
While we're waiting on that, oh, you
Yeah,
got some stats lined up for me?
I do, man. So Jonathan Taylor is running away with literally the number one rushing yard leader, over 1,500 yards, Steve.
Yeah, that is pretty amazing. I think that at this point, I would probably, if you haven't bought into him yet, I wouldn't. But if you got him, I would definitely sell him. I would definitely sell him right now if you got him. And I did actually finally sell. It took me 2 weeks, but I sold for my asking price my field level silver, one of the two that I have in my possession. So I think that was a good flip on my part. But yeah, I would definitely, unless you find like an amazing deal, I would be looking to move his cards.
On the in terms of 40 plus, so we're looking at now breakaway runs. Once again, Jonathan Taylor. But you know what's interesting? Right behind him is not second in rushing yards. He's actually like at number 5 and a lot lower attempts. He's quietly having another really solid year. That's Nick Chubb, Steve, on the Browns. I have seen some card prices for him dipping down quite a bit lately. I think that's just overall maybe a stance on the Browns as a whole, as they struggle with a variety of different issues on a week to week basis. What do you? I have a hard time. The Browns have been so volatile this year.
Yeah, it's too early to give up on Chubb, but obviously I wouldn't recommend paying top dollar for any of his cards right now. And it does also help that you know, what's his face? Kareem Hunt has been out because he was vulturing a lot of his goal line value early in the year. The one thing that's interesting about when you look at rushing totals now compared to like 10 years ago is a lot of these guys, they're receivers and running backs. And, you know, the guy that's 10th on the list for rushing might actually be third in overall yards, you know? So it is deceptive. You actually have to look at both.
Yeah, I mean, Deebo Samuel, man. Deebo Samuel has had 5 breakaway runs this year. That puts him at number 10, and he's a wide receiver. We've seen him a lot more active in the rushing game. They give him those jet sweeps, right? I mean, that's like that famous Samuel's becoming famous for that jet sweep.
I can't remember who it was. I saw a couple other receivers take rushes this week out of the backfield.
I've seen Elijah Moore, Rondale Moore, Chris Godwin. Pour some out for my homie. was a guy they used to do that with. Check this out: rushing leaders, breakaway runs. Guess who's number 9 with 6, right above Deebo Samuel? He's a quarterback.
What was the category?
Breakaway runs, so runs over 20 yards.
Jalen Hurts.
Boom! You got it, man. Jalen Hurts, who was clutch for me.
You know what's interesting is even last week, after he had missed a few games, he was still the QB3 in fantasy.
Still the QB3.
So since we were talking about stats while we're waiting for that last spot to fill up, I got one. I got one that you'll appreciate and some insight. When you look at tackling totals for defensive players, we covered a defensive player earlier. There's a few different tackling stats. One of them is combined tackles, which is usually an assist, and then there's solo tackles. So in the category of solo tackles, our boy Devin White is number 2. And
I just bought a nice Devin White rookie ticket auto on ComC, believe it or not, because I was talking to Raven. I'm like, dude, I got $55 in my balance. This is like, it's burning a hole in my pocket.
Yeah, I've been watching his rookie ticket autos lately. I've been trying to set like a number in my head that I'm not going to buy it for more than they are. I'm not saying they're overpriced, but his cards are pretty expensive for a defensive player. I just hoping I get lucky on an auction here once in a while.
Yeah,
a guy
there was
that I
two of
told you
them.
about earlier in the year is actually number 4, Roquan Smith of the Bears.
Oh, Roquan Smith, man. I like that. I feel like the Bears have the history, right, of dominant linebackers, Brian Urlacher, Dick Butkus. So it's like they have that history that if you guys have another good linebacker, that's like a guy that I should really consider investing in. How old is Roquan Smith? Do you remember his draft year?
2018, I believe.
Oh, so he's pretty young.
He is very young.
All right, I just found a guy.
I want to say you can still find a rookie ticket auto. This is mind-boggling to me. You can still find some of his rookie ticket autos for $20 to $25.
Wow, dude, that's half of the Devin White. He's like I told you, I got that one on ComC. There was only 2, and this was the base contenders rookie ticket auto. I paid $48 for it on ComC. The other one was like at 70. But I've routinely seen Shaq Barrett. So Shaq Barrett's another 2019 defensive rookie, Tampa Bay. Devin White. I've routinely seen those go for between that like $60 to $100 mark.
I was going in on one that was the orange variation last night, which I think is like out of 50 or out of 99. But obviously it got up in price, so I didn't end up going in on it. But it's going to make its way into my collection one of these days.
There's some people dropping some money on Roquan Smith here. I'm going to pull up my screen. There's some people dropping some money here recently on Roquan Smith. I mean, $110 for this Panini 1 football on-card auto numbered out of 49. That one seems pretty nice there, numbered out of 49. It's a sticker auto, like an interesting looking die cut draft picks. So college uniform difference right there. That one's got a nice Bears. It looks like, he's stalking somebody right there.
Yeah, his short print cards actually have a good price about them right now, but they're still at a point where you can invest in them. Absolutely. And trust me, I'm looking every day. I think I have 2 of the Prism autos. I have that green one and I have the silver one.
So in terms of like looking at this card, do you look at the pose that the player's in more so than the uniform and kind of like the other art on the card, or what?
There's actually 2 rookie ticket pose variations for him, like I know there is for a lot of other players.
Yeah.
And obviously I think the pose does matter. We can use Devin White as an example. A lot of Devin White's rookie cards, he's in the exact same pose. About 90% of Devin White rookie cards is in the exact same pose. So, and if you look at right there, you have the same situation with Roquan. His facing left pose on the Phoenix card, that's like the most common pose in almost all his rookie cards, the Donruss Elite. And the reason for that is a lot of those sets came out earlier in the year. when they didn't have a lot of other poses yet. But yeah, if you actually notice though, the ones that have other variations, like I love that obsidian one, man. That's just an awesome one. I like the select one as well. That gold select, wow, man, that's a beautiful card.
Sold out. No surprise, right?
No,
Let's
not
see
at all.
if they have a record of it. There's only one on here. But at some point, see, that card sold out on September 17th for $27 last
Wow,
year,
dude.
2020.
Wow.
That's pretty wild, right?
Yeah. I mean, that easily could go for $80 to $100 right in the current market.
Yeah, I think that's a great card to have. Mirror Gold.
I've been looking for some out of 10, because out of 10 is gold with the selects and the prisms too. And I did actually pick up, I can't remember if I showed it to you or not, the Keyshawn Vaughn select out of 10. I picked one up a couple weeks ago.
Ooh. Very nice.
So I'm hoping that he comes through in the next couple of years. He might even have his chance this week. Who knows,
He very well may. I tweeted this out earlier. Just because Ronald Jones is going to be the primary ball carrier this weekend for Tampa Bay does not make him a good rookie card investment. He's not great in the receiving game. He's dropped passes that have hit him right in the numbers before. He's not known for that. He also had a fumble earlier in the year. He's going to be on the field for the first down on the first series, most likely. Like, I'm 95% certain about that, but there's always a little bit of doubt when it comes to Bruce Arians' game plan. But I think that he'll get, especially if he comes out hot, and Ronald Jones has the ability to do that. He's a pretty powerful downhill runner. I still think that Keyshawn Vaughn is going to be in there for third downs. He's going to be in there for the screen plays, the bubble passes, all that kind of stuff. And Keyshawn Vaughn can take off with it as well. His profile shows that he did that in college quite well.
I got an interesting take on Ronald Jones, and I want to know what you think on it.
Okay.
So he's in a contract year, and his contract ends at the end of the season. So there is the chance that he's not in Tampa next year, which means there's a chance that he's starting running back somewhere else next year. So I'm not saying go out and buy all the Ronald Jones rookies, but I'm also not saying don't buy some. You can at least get a couple, and you could probably get some optic hollows for like $2 or $3, and it's a pretty safe investment.
I think you get them really cheap. So Ronald Jones is a 2018 rookie. So this is his fourth year in the league. My problem is that Ronald Jones is going to have to string together 4 or 5 really dominant games next year to really drive some good hype around wanting to collect or invest his cards. That's the only reason why I say I would rather own a Keyshawn Vaughn, because Keyshawn Vaughn would have to do less on the field to generate the equal amount of hype that Ronald Jones would generate if he strung together 3 or 4 weeks of really good performances.
Yeah, I'll just give you an example of like a play I made this week. You're familiar with the 2018 Prism serial numbered cards, right? They have a strange cut shape to them.
Yeah.
So there's like an orange, which is like out of 199 or 249, I can't remember, and a light blue, which is like out of 99. So I picked up a Ronald Jones orange Prism rookie for like $150 this week. It's a safe play, that's really cheap. I mean, if he never plays another down, it's $150, but that's pretty unrealistic, and me being a collector of Tampa and Bears players, for $150, it's going to look nice on my card display. You know what I mean? But I'll be honest, if he strings a few games together and I can sell it for $4 or $5, I'm going to sell it for $4 or $5, and it's doubling up, man.
Yeah, recycle. Take the profit and recycle that back into your card folio.
Like that Douglas Martin we saw this morning, man.
The muscle hamster. Insane. Did you win that other one? Because that other one was it was a gold, right? It was a gold prism, 2012, I believe, graded too. This just wasn't a PSA 10.
I didn't. No, I didn't get that one. But I wish that maybe I would have put forth a little more effort to get it, because you get distracted by other auctions and other things you got going on. But not only is it an out of 10, but it's a first year prism set. So those are, I mean, even if obviously Doug Martin's out of the league, he's not going to be in the Hall of Fame. He's not going to be in the Bucks Ring of Honor or anything like that. But he's a player I really liked, and it's an awesome card. That's the kind of card though that 10 or 15 or 20 years from now is probably going to have a lot of value.
I think so. I mean, there was a year where Doug Martin won your fantasy championship for you. I know for a fact, like, there was guys in my league that had picked up Doug Martin super late, or even picked him up off the waiver wire that year, that went on to win the league because they picked up Doug Martin. I remember going up against them, like, oh my God, this guy's going nuclear on a weekly basis.
And that's we always talk about the potential for running backs and their card values and stuff like that. So that's usually the other side makes that argument, like, what if you had a Doug Martin rookie and then what? But it's pretty simple. If you had that particular Doug Martin rookie, when he was going nuclear, you would have sold it, right?
Yeah,
no doubt. Most running back plays, you're probably not holding on to them their whole career. It's not advisable to do that.
Not until they become a Hall of Famer.
You're not, when we say to invest in a running back, you're not buying it to keep it 20 years. I mean, and how many guys end up being the next Walter Payton, right? And how many guys end up being the next LaDainian Tomlinson? Like, you can look at Doug Martin as an example. Look at Chris Johnson as an example. I mean, he broke the 2000, what was it, 2200 yard number.
Yeah, Chris Johnson with Tennessee.
But to do that, they were force feeding him. He had games where he had 33 carries, or he had close to 40 carries. I mean, it's just like if you drove your car 100,000 miles the first 2 years you owned it, even if it's a Honda, it's not going to last 30 years anymore. Like, you still got to manage its use.
Shout out to Jace Dodge here. Jace must have been in the hobby for a hot minute, because he said he sold his Doug Martin auto superfractor that same year we're talking about. He went nuclear in fantasy football. And he said he sold it right after a huge game against the Raiders. There you go. That would have been prime time. And so that just shows you that this is not something new. This is more of like this dogmatic opinion that a lot of people developed about investing strictly in quarterbacks versus skill position players. And that's what we're saying. Look, when these guys, like, that's the thing. If there's no prior performance history for a player and they come in and they have one super dominant game, the hype is going to be high for their cards, because it's like, is this the ceiling? Like, is this the next Walter Payton? Like, is this what we can look forward to on a week-to-week basis? Whereas if they've already played a couple years in the league and we've already seen a bunch of games where it's like up and down, it's decent. Some games they've shown they've been stopped at the goal line several times and they couldn't quite get it done, but they are an explosive runner. Then they just have to string together more dominant performances before we're like bought back in again that they're gonna, be the next Hall of Famers, or just like make a all-pro run at least.
Yeah, and you made the same argument with Darnold earlier and a few other guys, and yeah, when it's just like even a human being, a friend or a coworker, if they do you wrong, you don't just usually let them off the hook and they're back on your good graces right away. It's going to take a little while, for them to maybe a couple weeks or a few months of them being nice to you to be like, all right, this guy's okay. He just had a little bad spell in there. So, but yeah, it's absolutely the same principle. Um,
Mm-hmm.
let's see. I still got a couple stats pulled up here.
Yeah, hit me with a couple more stats before we get out of here, Scaladesi.
Absolutely. So let's
Steve
look
the
at
Hitman Scaladesi dropping the knowledge with us today, guys. Smash that like button.
this is one of my favorite plays. I've only bought a few of his cards this year, but I think if I said the name Trayvon Diggs, you would know who that is. And I think that most
Oh,
people would.
yeah.
Okay. Now he's the league leader in interceptions with 10. But I bet you wouldn't know who the second person is. Or maybe you would.
Darius Slay?
No, he's not even on the top 10. J.C. Jackson. J.C. Jackson of the Patriots. Now,
oh, yeah. J.C. Jackson. That's right, man.
but I'll tell you what, it's actually J.C. if you're looking him up. So J.C. Jackson didn't have many rookie cards. So if you find any quote unquote second year cards of him, which would be 2021, I believe, they have quite a bit of value. I have one of his gold standard autos, which is serial numbered. And I actually have that 2021 score that you have pulled up there. I have the auto version of it. And it just seemed like a good buy to me because I think I probably bought it like halfway through the year and it looks like it's going to pan out.
That is very interesting, especially Patriots seem to be bound for the playoffs as well. What rookie? What was this dude's rookie year?
I believe it was 2020, but he wasn't printed. Let me confirm this for you.
I'm having a real hard time finding really anything.
He's not printed. He wasn't drafted. That's why.
Ah.
Yeah, he wasn't drafted. Let's see. Okay. He was undrafted, but it looks like he did actually play in 2018. I didn't know that myself, but you'd be hard pressed to find any cards of him, as you can see.
Yeah, they're actually considering 2021 cards rookie year or rookie related.
Yep. That's what I was saying.
I mean, this is fascinating.
That's the gold standard card that I have. That one right there.
This is actually very fascinating because these are all the cards available for him, not just look at this is wild, man, because yeah, there's a 2018 Leaf Draft autographs, J.C. Jackson.
I have that score signatures one right there too. That's the other one I have. And actually I have the signature marks from Donruss at the top. And I probably picked them up for about $12 a piece, but I'm going to still wait until the playoffs.
And see, that's beautiful because there's going to be such scarcity around this cards. And with how good he's playing, with the number of interceptions, he makes one big play. And the slightest amount of demand will cause a pretty big price spike in your card because there is no other options. Oh, our draft is starting. So you might want to draft is starting in 44 seconds. It just filled up. Shout out to Ridley 18 Shelly out there. Merry Christmas to you all in just a couple days. I hope you're ready. I think you're probably most of you are in the same boat as Steve and I. We just have a lot of wrapping to do. This is a fun format, Steve. I want to. This is going to be fun because this is just for tonight's game.
Oh, I see. This is all tonight's game.
Yeah, it's all tonight's game. It's a 3-person private league. through Underdog Fantasy, and it's all flex positions. There's no quarterbacks, so and it's half point PPR, standard scoring. Whoever gets the most points with their roster of, I believe it's going to be four people. Yeah, if you look at there's the roster, kind of blow that up actually, and what I'll do is I'll blow this up, and then so you just watch the draft board, and then I'll put through the draft on my phone. All right, so look at AJ Brown being taken first. Now that Steve knows that he's back on the starting roster. Let's see if I can get in here.
These drafts are going to be like boom or bust, man. They really are.
Let's see. Yeah, I'm gonna go Jeff Wilson again. I'm going Debo and Jeff. I kind of handcuffed myself there with a running back, wide receiver on the same team, but with it being 4 flex, I feel good about that. Debo's floor, man. I feel like Debo's got a good 10 to 15 point floor. You know, there's a big run on.
Absolutely. I mean, let's see, 1, 2, 3. He's the 6th in overall receiving yards in the league, actually.
Oh, wow. I think that Julio Jones might be playing tonight too, Steve. I'm looking at a RotoWire source here. Julio Jones doesn't have an injury designation for Thursday's game against San Francisco. This comes as a surprise considering Jones was unable to finish out Sunday's loss to the Steelers and was said to be headed for a game-time decision. It turns out he'll suit up tonight, but look at Steve grabbing Julio Jones.
Why not? I went all Titans, not really the way I wanted to go, but I think Shelley threw me off with the Kittle #1 pick. And then I totally blew it on Debo. I should have taken him next, but you know.
I'm going McNichols, and then I'm also going to go. Yeah, I've got to go Akeem. Boom.
Let's see. We're gonna really go outside on this one. Ready? Boom.
Kyle Juszczyk. Hey man, at the fullback position. You know, I know the fullback is not what they used to be when Mike Allstott was trucking over people back in the late 90s, early 2000s.
Days,
but
man.
Oh man, the A train.
He deserves a spot in the Hall of Fame when they start recognizing, the fullback position. But
he definitely deserves a spot in the Hall of Fame, no doubt.
Let's see here.
Yeah, Julio back. So I want to ask you, out of this, before we get out of here, out of this little draft we just did, out of these 12 people, taking everything that we know about cards and all the gray areas, the availabilities, everything, which one of these guys would you feel best about buying right now?
All right. So out of all those guys, I mean, Debo, I like Debo and I would invest in Debo, but his prices are pretty up there already.
Mm-hmm.
So I would say Kittle, and I would say Ayuk maybe as like a close second, because he's pretty much like, you could make the argument that he's just still getting kind of phased into the, to the NFL, and it being his unofficial first year. It's his second year, but it's still kind of his first year. It's not very likely that guys like Justin Jefferson or nice. It's not like Justin Jefferson or Jamar Chase. Like, a lot of these guys don't step into the league and become elite wide receivers immediately.
Very true.
It's usually a learning curve, and it's usually similar to the tight end learning curve, where it's like year 3, year 4, and in less common cases, year 2. But I would say those guys, if they end up spending a lot of their career together, are going to terrorize a lot of secondaries, especially Kittle. there's not a lot of linebackers that can match up with him.
No, my problem with Kittle is when it comes to the available cards for him. And maybe this is where you go and you start looking at the 2020, 2021 sets, 2019. But Kittle's rookie year, you can see here on ComC, it's literally the Phoenix or the rookie ticket auto. And because of that limited availability, they're all going to be incredibly expensive. I mean, you're looking at Kittle's base official rookie card at almost $100 right now, Steve.
And that's the same situation as what's his name, Trey Hendrickson, that we talked about earlier. The only two cards he has are the Phoenix, and he might have a rookie ticket auto. I haven't seen one yet, but yeah, I mean, when you think about it, when you have a large population of rookies, could you imagine if Joe Burrow had two rookies to pick from, what the prices would be? So, I mean, it automatically puts a very small population on his rookie cards by there only being two to pick from.
Which is great if you're catching them on the pre-breakout phase and you're buying them then. It's like, oh my gosh, because you could literally control the supply of that the cards for sale, and you can make a killing, but if you're buying them now, it's they get so expensive. Like I've seen Kittle's, these rookie ticket autos selling for $400 and $500. I'm like, oh man, I wish I should have bought Kittle before this past year, but I'm like, I didn't think that they maybe have been low enough, but they certainly were, because now you look at his prices after he's gone nuclear several weeks this year, and he's just further solidified himself as a top 3 tight end in the league with Travis Kelce and Mark Andrews, and Darren Waller's taking a big bag. I mean, we could talk about him as being a big disappointment this year.
Yeah, I don't know, and I haven't seen any coach speak on what's going on with him, but hopefully it's not like a relapse type situation with him, because that's the first thing that came to mind for me. But I mean, let's use this as a counter argument. Like, you're talking about how expensive Kittle's cards are. I've seen a steep drop in Waller's rookie cards, and that's ideally where you want to be buying guys, right? And there's coaches around the NFL that have said that Waller is the most talented football player in the NFL, not tight end. They said that he is the most talented player in the NFL. So these coaches, I mean, they probably see a lot of guys play football, so it's something to keep in mind. If you can find a couple of his cards, especially like the Prism Silvers and cards of that scarcity, that's a great time to get in on his, because you don't want to be looking at $500 Kittle rookies and being like, man, when Waller blows up, I could have got him at $30 or whatever it is.
That's very true. I wonder, do you have any insight as to what Darren Waller's contract looks like right now with the Raiders?
I don't. Let's take a quick look.
I'm very curious, because I do agree with you. When you watch him play, he's an absolute giant of a human being out there, and he's so fast for his size. And I think that it's a combination of injuries and just play calling from the Raiders, and really just them spreading the ball around a ton. I don't think they've done a great job of kind of scheming him in this year, and they've gone through some serious coaching changes.
So he's under contract until 2023.
Okay.
But you just saw that towards the top, there was that rookie ticket auto that ends in a couple hours. It's like under $20. I want to.
Yeah, I just hearted that one.
Yeah, I mean, that's I'm telling you, like, that's the kind of card you should be looking for, because you're not going to find a Kittle under $20. And I'm not saying that card's going to end at 20, but it could. And here's a conversation I had recently with someone. You know, because you think a card might finish at a certain dollar amount, if you like the card and you want to buy the card, don't not watch the auction. And there's a couple reasons for that. You'd be shocked at how low some of these auctions can go because people have jobs. People could have been driving, or you could have did what I do sometimes, and I tile out to do something else, and I'm like, crap, I totally missed it, and it goes for $5. You know what I mean? And let's go even a level beyond that. Here's a little tip. If you're someone that makes watch lists on eBay, right? And I feel like if you're watching a lot of auctions, I recommend making watch lists. One thing I would do with your watch lists is when an auction ends, don't necessarily remove it from your watch list, okay? And there's a reason for that. We all know that there's non-payment issues on occasion for eBay, right? I have it, you have it, everyone's selling on eBay has it. If a card gets non-paid and relisted, it will show up as relisted when you go onto your watch list. And now you have another shot at that card. And maybe it'll go for less than it did when you were going in on it, right?
That's a very good point, man. All right, guys, we're going to answer one more question. I love that. Phenomenal nugget you just dropped there, Steve, here at the end of this live stream. Guys, make sure you smash that like button. We're going to answer one more question here in the chat from Larry Lawton. And what's your thoughts on KJ Hamler rookie ticket autos, Steve?
I like it. I like it. And I wouldn't say you can pick them up very cheap because of the upside that the guy has, but you can get them pretty cheap, and you can get them cheap enough that they can be flipped, especially with any speculative quarterback ads for next year. I would definitely, if you can get a couple for cheap, I would think about it. I would consider adding a couple to the portfolio or the card folio. And, you know, a lot of his rookie tickets are actually all on-card autos, which is nice.
Very nice. I'll say he doesn't have great penmanship, but it's much better than Tyler Huntley. It's not bad. There's no way I can read that says KJ Hamler. Like the Darren Waller penmanship. I love his penmanship. His autograph is really cool.
When you get a chance, go look up some of Doug Martin's autos. They're pretty terrible.
Pretty bad.
Pretty bad. You know, one thing about KJ Hamler is I know that you tell people to use the player profiler a lot, and he actually profiles out to be Deshaun Jackson.
That's right, man. Best comparable, dude.
He is a stud. I mean, yeah, he's at the late stages of his career right now. But if you had Deshaun Jackson when McNabb was heaving 80-yard touchdowns to him, you'd have no problem unloading for a profit a KJ Hamler rookie card, you know.
And this is a perfect guy. And we talk about the salary cap space that Denver's going to have this upcoming offseason. And they're most likely going to spend that on a new franchise quarterback, probably through trade, like acquisition, one of these Hall of Fame quarterbacks that potentially may be packing their bags, like Russell Wilson, Aaron Rodgers, Deshaun Watson, maybe. I mean, look at the auctions on KJ Hamler. If you're watching them, that could end tonight for under $20. That's numbered out of 99 on-card auto. That's probably going to end. What would you think? Like 15 something dollars?
Yeah, most likely. Most of the ones I've seen
crazy
have ended, and well, that one's out of 99. I mean, most of the base ones I've seen end at like $13 to $20. So yeah, I would say that one's going to end probably like $16 to $18.
There you go, guys. I hope you guys have fun watching the auctions tonight. I know Steve, the Hitman Scaladesi, thank you for coming on again, man. This has been a wonderful episode of the Card Dog. Enjoy the San Francisco 49ers at the Tennessee Titans tonight. It's going to be fun, man. Bam. All right, guys.
Watch football, buy cards. Thanks for tuning in, guys.
That's the quest. Peace. Merry Christmas.